Hi, I'm Patty with Baby Lock.
And I'm Mike with Baby Lock.
And we're excited today to be introducing to you two of our brand new machines, the Altair 2 and the Meridian 2.
These are amazing. They've got some really great features that have been added to these machines, make them so much more user-friendly, and they're gonna actually really make sewing and embroidery just a lot more fun.
Right, and if you're an existing Altair and Meridian consumer, you also have the option to purchase an upgrade for your machines, which will basically take the features and functions that are built into these machines and add them to your existing machine.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and get started by talking about what we're adding to these, right? So let's start off with talking about our technology. Now, we're embracing technology big at Baby Lock, right? We're really starting to go and add a lot of technology improvements to our machines. And Wi-Fi has always been really a good focus for us with all of our latest machines. And that's no different with the Altair 2 and the Meridian 2.
Right, so both the Altair 2 and Meridian 2 still have that great app function.
Yeah.
So you can still use the IQ positioning app, and that helps you with hooping your, placing your designs, and also you have the ability to be able to transfer designs wirelessly, either using the palette software or using design database transfer, but now there's more.
Yeah, so we've actually added what's called the IQ Intuition monitoring app. Now, just by the name alone, that kind of tells you what it does. So it's gonna kind of be like your assistant.
Correct.
Right? So if you're gonna have a smart device, that smart device, you download the monitoring app to that from either the Google Play Store or iOS, Apple Store, whatever the case may be. And what it's gonna let you do is actually monitor what's happening with your machine without you being in front of your machine. So I know a lot of people really get nervous about walking away from their machine, but this is actually gonna give you that power to kind of go to another room and multitask, which you know, you and I do a lot. We do that a whole lot.
I love it. I go watch TV in another room, and then I can watch when my machine needs a thread change, or maybe if a thread breaks, I've got that all right there at my fingertips on my phone or my tablet.
And one of the things I absolutely love about the monitoring app is that whenever you set a design, if you have your monitoring app running at the same time, it's actually going to give you the full list of all of the thread colors that are in that design. So if your thread's not right there by your machine and you have to go across the room, or better yet, take a screenshot. Once you take that screenshot, you can now take that to your local Baby Lock retailer and go shopping for thread. And we always want more thread, right? Always want more thread.
Exactly. So some of the other things too with technology on the machines is that we've had wonderful placement using that IQ positioning app, but now there's even more placement. So built in with both the Altair 2 and the Meridian 2, we're going to have what we call 2-point placement.
Yeah, and this is a wonderful tool for making sure that you not only have your design exactly where you want it, but that you have the horizontal and vertical center lines actually aligned to whatever your project is.
Right.
So this is not only going to be a placement tool, it's going to be a rotation tool as well. So all we're going to do is pull up our design, and then we're going to have that needlepoint laser, which we've had, right? That's not new technology. We've got that needlepoint laser. And what we're going to do is use that needlepoint laser to indicate where the actual design is going to go, and we can pick any of our 8 points of placement, or 9 points of placement actually, and then from there we're actually going to give it a direction. So it's a very simple process, and if it's something that you're really excited about, we've got some more information about that coming out on other videos where you can actually see it working, but it's a really cool method to actually get things lined up.
Correctly. And so both the Altair and Meridian 2 both come with some specialty hoops that work with that IQ positioning app. So I love this now because we're going to be introducing some different hoops. So if you use hoops that maybe don't have those markings, maybe either a 4x4 hoop or some of the new magnetic hoops, you can use that 2-point placement in lieu of the app for getting things precisely placed.
And this is really cool when we're using fabric that has directionality in it. It's really cool when we're doing things like lining things up in reference to a pocket, or lining things up in reference to a hem or something like that. So it's really a cool way to actually make sure that it's just exactly precisely positioned, right?
Because nothing's worse than getting your embroidery done and then realizing that it's not positioned properly. So love that we have more tools built in.
Yeah, I mean, we all know that unstitching is part of embroidery, but we don't want to do it if we don't have to.
Don't get near me with a seam ripper in my hand.
Exactly.
Yeah, so one of the other things that's new, and this is going to be a change that's going to be on the Altair 2. It's not going to be something that can necessarily be upgraded onto your existing Altair, but it is a new easy remove needle plate.
Yeah, so up until now, we've had to get that multi-position screwdriver, and we've had to go in and take off actual screws to remove the plates and switch them over to a straight needle plate if we're on the Altair, or to clean out our bobbin case area. We're not going to have to do that anymore. You're going to wind up with a brand new 3-position tool. And that tool actually has been modified in such a way that whenever you're looking at the needle plate, there's actually a little hole in the needle plate. You stick the 3-in-1 tool into that hole, slide it over to the side, and it just pops off.
Yeah.
So there's no screws to release or anything like that. So
Or lose.
Right? And it's going to make the process of making sure that your bobbin area is clean all the easier.
I love that. I love that because that's one of the deterrents. It's hard to get into there sometimes, so it's nice to be able to easily remove that.
Yeah. And one other thing that we should say before we kind of move off technology and actual physical updates to the machine is that now with the Altair 2 and the Meridian 2, and even with the upgrade for the Altair 1 and Meridian 1, you're actually going to be able to directly download your updates to the machine. So prior to now, we would have to go to babylife.com, go into the actual website, download that update file, come in, use a USB to actually transfer that. Now, if you've connected your machines to Wi-Fi, you're not going to have to do that. It's actually going to go out and look every time you turn your machine on, as long as it's connected to the internet. Check and see if there's an update. If there is, it'll download it in the background. And then it'll kind of notify you. It'll put a little exclamation point up on your Wi-Fi symbol, letting you know that there's an update. You just go through the process of updating it, as simple as that. So no more having to kind of search through and find an empty USB.
So now you can keep your machine clean by the needle plate area, and then you can also keep your machines updated by using that automatic wireless update feature.
And for those of you who don't know, we update our machines quite a bit, right? So sometimes the updates will be things that you will actually see a physical change. Sometimes it's things like housekeeping in the background, right? So a lot of times it may be something that you're like, well, what did it change? From what you see, nothing. But what happened in the background is actually, we're making something better, right? Yeah.
So let's move on to embroidery. And one of the things we really didn't talk about when we were talking about the Altair 2 and Meridian 2, and this is true of its predecessors, is that the Altair 2 is going to be sewing and embroidery combination machine. The Meridian is going to have just the embroidery only components of the machine. So when we talk about things that we're talking about with embroidery or IQ Designer, those functions are going to be available on both machines.
Right. And you know, the reason we did that is because a lot of our customers really already have a great sewing machine, right? They may own like one of maybe the Accomplish or maybe the Crescendo or one of those other machines that are sewing. And then you have this as a companion machine. And that way you don't have to have, you can actually have them both going at the same time.
Double timing. You can be working on a quilt and then be embroidering over, over somewhere else in the room.
But if you don't have space, right? It's great to have that combination machine. And we have quite a few combination machines in our lineup. The Altair 2 being one of them, and it's just an awesome machine as far as it goes with that. But when we talk about embroidery, we've added a lot to our embroidery section. And the first is one that I know you personally love, and that is our couching.
Yeah, so yarn couching is so much fun. And what comes with either the upgrade or with the Altair 2 Meridian 2 is a yarn couching embroidery foot, which is the Y foot. And you're also going to get a guide that's going to work with the embroidery couching. So that's going to be a piece that actually attaches to the machine. But in addition to that, there's 40 built-in designs that are kind of open and airy yarn couching designs. And then there's also a fill alphabet. And so that comes with uppercase, lowercase letters, as well as some numbers and some symbols.
And you've really taken that to a new level. So one of the things I'm going to encourage you to do, if this is something that you're interested in as far as the couching goes, and you're just like, well, I don't want to do the open and airy, and I don't really have anything to do with the alphabet, please go watch some of our other videos on couching that you'll see for the Solaris, because you really took this and took it to a new level, because you took these shapes, these punctuations, these letters, and you've created new designs off of those flowers, and you did a flag and all kinds of stuff. I had a lot of
fun with looking at things as shapes rather than looking at them as just letters or numbers or things like that. So lots of fun. So there's a video on the Altair 2 and Meridian 2 so you can watch and see some of that inspiration there as well.
And we also have videos on the Solaris that you can go watch for those as well. So don't think that just because you're looking at the Altair 2 or the Meridian 2 that the things that you're seeing, if they're on the Solaris, there are going to be videos that you should watch as well. So on top of the embroidery couching, which of course can become a new obsession, right? We're also going to have 40 new designs that are built into the machine, and that's going to include also some new technique type sewing. We've got some crochet designs that are in
which
here.
I love that. I love that we're adding like texture to our embroidery, right? So that the yarn couching does that, but these crochet designs do as well. And they're designed to be stitched out and be more of like a freestanding crochet type of design that then you can sew together, you can embellish projects, you can do all sorts of things with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing about this is that these actually stitch at full speed. Yeah, which is kind of unusual when we're talking about lace or crochet. We usually tell you, slow your machine down, do this, do that. These run at full speed, which is really awesome. We've also included some new fonts. So we have 2 brand new fonts that are going to be in the machine. Plus, we're going to have a new monogram font. And we all love monograms, right? right?
And this monogram font is exclusive to these machines and to the upgrade. So it's a nice, fresh, new monogram font as well that will be really, really fun to use in your projects.
Yeah, because we can put monograms on anything, right? I mean, I always joke and say I'm from the South, and if you stand still long enough, we'll slap a monogram on you somewhere. So that's definitely a choice. We do have a feature that we've expanded on that's going to be inside of our embroidery, and that's our auto stipple now becomes.
Right. So auto stipple has been on the embroidery editing side, but we've now added the auto echo quilting and also added auto decorative fill. Right. So what does that mean? That means if you're on the embroidery side of your machine, this is without going into IQ Designer, on the embroidery side of the machine, you can take a design and then just simply go in the embroidery editing, choose what size hoop you want, and select which one of those decorative fills or echo quilting or stippling you want to add around your embroidery design. So it's just a real one-step quick
and what a great way to make an instant quilt block. I mean, really instant quilt block right then and there, and you're quilting as you go. And it's just beautiful results. And we're also going to, with those two, you can use any of your frame sizes that work on your machine to dictate the size for that fill, whether it's the stipple, the auto echo, or the actual deck fill. And so you can actually layer them and you can stack them, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun to be had for that. And again, we have a video on that as well. So you guys can watch the video and see more about what all the creative things you can do with that. And it's even fun to use some of those too with the yarn couching designs.
Yes. Even
though the yarn couching designs are not supposed to be stitched with other designs, we've already figured out a workaround for that.
And we tell you how to do it. So we share all the little tricks we figure out. We do have a brand new feature on these machines that we've not had on any other machine that's out there, and it's called Matrix Copy.
Yeah, you had fun with this one.
I had fun with this one. This one was a lot of fun because of the fact that a lot of times we may be working on a project where we want to fill our hoop with that particular design, right? And we've always had what we call our border feature or our auto duplicate, auto repeat.
Auto repeat.
Yeah, and we love that feature. That feature has been around for a while now. We use it all the time. I'm sure people have seen us teach on it and stuff like that. But with this Matrix Copy, what it does is we literally pick a hoop size, it fills the hoop.
Correct.
Which is amazing because we can go in, and our largest hoop size on these machines is 9.5 by 14 for the Altair, and the same for our Meridian as well. And so you can go in and use this Matrix Copy, just fill the whole thing. Yeah. So for those of you who love doing freestanding lace,
I was thinking those crochet designs, designs, right? You bring them in and you want to stitch multiples of them. Touch that matrix button. You can space them out if you want to space them out closer together or further apart. And then you've got your whole hoop full.
Yeah, and what I love about this is any of you guys who have used our border feature or our repeat feature, it actually color sorts for you, which I think is a huge saver because when we're doing a design, and we'll throw up some images of a pillow that we've done here that's got some cross stitch on it. It only has 3 colors in it, but the fact of the matter is if I didn't have that color sort feature on there, that's what 20-something cherries that I've got on there.
You either have to be rethreading or advancing through your stitching and stuff like that. This takes care of all of that for you.
So 3 colors, that means 3 color changes for all of it, right? Which I love. And I think that's such a cool feature. And this is something that kind of traveled over from our software programs, right? So we're bringing some more software features into the machine itself.
Yeah, but have no fear. That color sort feature, while it's available with the Matrix and with our border or pattern repeat feature, that's something you can also use too on your designs. As long as they're like non-overlapping designs and things like that, you can take advantage of that as well on your regular embroidery designs as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And once you do the Matrix, you still have full editing capabilities. You just have to remember that once you use Matrix, it brings the design in as a grouped design. So you're gonna have to ungroup it to go mess with anything. Once you ungroup it, you have to go back and put the color sort on. No big deal. It's really a lot of fun.
That's one thing I love about our machines is they're so easy to use.
They are.
They really are. And they're very intuitive.
Yeah.
So.
Now, another feature that I know you and I love to use, and it's something that we've had on some of our other top-of-the-line machines, and that's our deselect region. Oh my gosh, so deselect region is a feature that we have introduced not too terribly long ago. And what it allows us to do is once we pull design in, if there's part of the design we don't want to stitch, we can actually turn it off. Now, that may not seem like a big deal because we've always been able to skip parts of our design. But what this allows us to do is that we can actually turn it off and visually see what it does to the design. Why is that important? Well, a lot of designs are digitized in such a way that we don't have stitches on top of other stitches. So if we skip something, it might leave a hole in our design. By using deselect region, you're actually going to see it on the screen, and you can make sure there's no holes in your design, and then you can go in and create something new from something you already have.
It just takes something and turns it off and has a no-sew in for that specific area of your design.
And I love it because, especially on our large decorative fonts, those, you can really change the look of the large decorative fonts just by using deselect
Well, because sometimes you don't want the flowers or things like that. You just want to take advantage and have something more classic and traditional. You can turn those flowers off and you've got basically a whole new font built into the machine. So
Absolutely.
it's really nice and easy to do that. So one of the other things too, or some of the other new designs that are built in, is we've had large buttonhole designs on the Altair and the Meridian, but now we're adding some extra sizes. So the buttonhole designs on the embroidery side have always been really large, right? They're larger designs. And with now we're adding some that are super small and extra small. So these are going to be more like your traditional sewing buttonhole size. So that's a great way if you are a garment sewer, but maybe you struggle with getting your buttonholes all lined up nicely. You can do it on the embroidery side and line everything up and stitch it out. And then you've got perfect placement with your buttonholes.
Yeah, and it's not only our buttonholes, our eyelets are going to be affected by this as well. So
there's 2 new eyelets.
2 new eyelets that are in there that you can go in.
This is the only machine so far that have those 2 eyelets on it. So that's a bonus for you guys. So that's awesome.
Now, one of the things that's a piece of hardware, this is an optional piece of hardware that's being introduced. It doesn't come with the machines, but it is a game changer to me because I love magnetic hoops.
I do too.
Yeah, I use them a lot. I probably use magnetic more than I do anything else.
I do too. We both have talked about the fact that the magnetic hoops really help you to secure your fabric. And it's also really nice if you have hard to hoop items, like even towels, right? I feel like towels are getting more and more plush and you're trying to hoop a towel, or maybe you want to do something on a garment, like a jean jacket or things like that. Sometimes those are really, really hard to get hooped, and they're the ergonomic side of it, it's just hard to get everything hooped. And if you struggle with those kinds of things, having a magnetic hoop helps you get things nice and easily hooped, and it keeps it really tight so that you get really good stitching.
And this particular hoop has a great size. It's going to be 12 inches by 7 inches or 300 millimeters by 180 millimeters. I think that is just such a good, useful size because it gives us something that we could do a larger design, but at the same time, it's not so large that if we wanted to do a smaller size, we'd be wasting a lot of fabric or anything.
It would be great to do your borders or different things like that on it. And just one thing to point out, so that's going to be an optional accessory for the Altair 2 and the Meridian 2. For those of you guys who purchase the upgrade, that's actually something that's going to be included in the upgrade box. So I love that too, because I love when you get hardware with an upgrade.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's what makes upgrade special, right? We do get hardware with it. And then we have to talk about a convenience feature.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Sometimes it's the little things that make the difference.
And this is going to be one that I can't live without now. I have it on the Solaris, and now that we have it on the Altair 2 and the Meridian 2, this is the auto presser foot down. So what does that mean? It means that it eliminates a step.
Right.
Which you're kind of just like, well, that's just being lazy. Yep, it sure is. And I am a lazy embroiderer. One of the things you're going to see is if you go into your settings pages on your machine, you're going to have a choice to where it says auto presser foot down. If you turn that on, it's going to take off the step where you have to lower your presser foot to begin to embroider. So as soon as you set your design and you advance over to the embroidery settings page, you're going to see that your start stop button is going to be green. And maybe even with the foot up, it's still going to be green. As soon as you press it, it's just going to start stitching for you. So like Patty said, it's the little things.
Yeah, it is little things. And it's one of those things when you go to stitch on a machine, which we have the luxury of stitching on other machines, and it doesn't have that feature, you're like, oh, I gotta push another button.
Or what did I do? You're thinking like, what did I do? What did I not do?
What's wrong?
Yeah, so all of these features are great for embroidery, but we have to talk about the other parts of the machine as well. And one of the things that you and I have a lot of fun with is IQ Designer. Now let's talk about what IQ Designer is first. So IQ Designer is a built-in program on our machines. Now it's currently available, I think, on seven machines, something like that. And it allows us to actually create our own custom embroidery designs right on the machine. Right. And we can do that a couple of different ways. We can bring in artwork and play with the artwork, or believe it or not, you can actually just draw right here on the screen.
And there's built-in shapes, and there's lots of tools and things like that that you can use as well to really get super creative.
Yeah, and a lot of people think that, hey, I don't think I'd ever use IQ Designer because I'm not a big embroiderer. Are you a quilter? Because if you're a quilter, you can actually go in and custom create quilt labels with your own handwriting, right? So things like that. So it's a really versatile program, and it gives you a lot of power. It really, really does. So we've had IQ Designer on the Altair and the Meridian. That's not new, but for the Altair 2 and the Meridian 2, and for our upgrade kit, we're gonna be actually adding some more features to IQ Designer, right? So the first thing we're gonna add is we're gonna add some new line motifs.
Correct.
right?
Right. There's going to be 12 new line motifs that are going to be added. So we're adding a whole category of 10 decorative motif stitches. Right. So these are a little bit on the larger side. They've got a little bit more ornamentation, I would say, to them. But then we're also going to be adding 2 blanket stitches. So an E stitch and a V stitch.
Right. And those are great because if we're creating our own appliques or something like that, and we want to do kind of primitive applique, or we want to just do kind of that hand-sewn look of appliques, so much fun, right? And we have had some really creative customers who've used these motif stitches on some of our other machines to create just wonderful, almost like stitch samplers, right?
Oh, yeah.
So lots of fun with there, a lot of creativity have. On top of that, we're going to be adding some new motif stitches. I know, right?
Drum roll, right?
So our decorative fills, right? We're going to be increasing the number of those on this particular machine. So there's already a ton on here.
Right.
Right? There's a ton in here. But we're going to be actually adding another 15.
I know. Usually we order them in increments of 6 and you're getting 15.
Yeah, you're gonna have 15 on this. And what can you do with those decorative fills? Well, you can do a lot, right? So you've already heard us mention that we've increased the auto stipple over on the embroidery side to include our auto decorative fills. So all of our original decorative fills plus these new 15 are gonna be available there, but now they're also available over in IQ Designer. So again, easy to make quilt blocks, easy to embellish designs.
Make your own fabric. I like to take them and just layer them and make my own fabric and then cut them up and put them into quilt projects and things like that. So there's so much you can do with them.
Or we've seen people make beautiful machine covers where they're using the all quilted fabric, creating their own quilted fabric. And it's such a wide variety in there, right? So if you're not seeing something on the first screen you like, scroll because there's more. And you can get in there and see a ton of the different designs that are in there.
And you can customize them. So you can resize them, you can rotate them, you can play around with them and really make them unique.
You can. And I think they're, the sky's the limit because you can layer them, you can stack them, you can kind of nest them. You can do all kinds of really fun things with these. So make sure you check those out. Make sure you go around and play with them. Make sure you go into a retail store and let them show you what those do and what they kind of create. And, we have samples up here. We've got our quilt behind us. This has got some of these decorative fills inside of it. The other thing that we're going to see is our internal memory has been increased on the IQ side. So we used to only be able to save 6 saved outline shapes.
So what that means is that if you have an embroidery design and maybe you want to do something a little unique rather than just using that auto stipple, auto echo quilting and the auto decorative fill, you can actually create a shape outline around your embroidery design and send it over to IQ Designer, use it as artwork, use it to put a different decorative fill or something creative around the outside of your design. But with that, we've only been able to save 6 previously, and now we're increasing that or doubling that, I believe, to 12.
Yes.
So you've got more spaces to store those.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing that we do want to say for someone who's new to IQ Designer, if IQ Designer has not been in your forte before, the one thing that I want to point out is IQ Designer is its own program. It is not part of the embroidery side of the machine. So what that means to us is we can't open an embroidery design over in IQ. So this saved outline function, which we have over on the embroidery side, is how we get embroidery information kind of over into IQ. So it's a really cool thing, and we're starting to sort of blur the lines a little bit between IQ and embroidery, which is awesome. But just so you know, you can always take any embroidery design that you have, create a saved outline, bring it over into IQ, and create all kind of wonderful things with it.
So like appliques and things like that. So very versatile to be able to use that.
It is. And the last thing about IQ is we've done some user interface improvements. So you're going to see some simple things that are just going to make the experience of playing inside of IQ Designer a little bit more user-friendly. Now, one of the things that we are going to change is we have a paintbrush feature.
We've had that.
We've had that. That's nothing new. And that's how we can go in and kind of paint fill areas on a design. Because remember I said we can actually use our screen as our tablet and draw. So up until now on the Altair and the Meridian, we actually only had 3 choices for our paintbrushes as far as size. You could choose a round brush or a square brush, and then small, medium, or large.
It's like paintbrush sizes.
It is, right? It's like
tips of your paintbrush.
What brush are you picking out of your thing?
Yes.
Now we've increased that to where you actually still have both the round and the square, but now you have 6 different pre-designated sizes that are in there. So
for each of them. So you get 12 total.
12 different total brushes. And those can be really powerful because not only can you use them to add fills, you can actually turn on to no sew and use it as an eraser. Yeah, so lots of fun there, but you're going to notice other user interface improvements in the area as well. And you'll actually see that throughout the machine, not just in IQ.
Right. Okay.
So IQ, lots of improvements that are there. Now we're going to switch gears just a little bit. Yeah, we're going to go just to the Altair for a minute.
Right, and we have the Altair set up for sewing right now, and we did that kind of intentionally so you could see that this does have sewing features and sewing functionality as well. And so one of the new things that has been added is tapering stitches. And you played a lot with tapering stitches when that came out on the Solaris.
I did, yeah. So tapering stitches are a lot of fun, and it gives you a lot of power for creativity, right?
Like 20 tapering stitches.
20 different designs that you can go in, 20 different stitches that you can select and then use the tapering feature on. Now, this is not new technology, but it's new automated technology, right? So we've always been able to actually adjust the width of our stitches as we're stitching, which is always a plus. And as we're doing that, we can actually start off with a very narrow, beef it up to a wide, up to 7 millimeters, right? And then we can narrow it back down so that we kind of get this like V shape on both ends. And used to, we had to do that manually, right? We actually had to sit there and control it. Use your slider bar. Yeah, you can still do that. But now we have this automated process. And what this automated process is going to do is it's going to allow us to choose one of the 20 selected stitches that we have available to us. And some of those stitches are really cool.
They are really cool.
But you can go in now and you can actually tell the machine what angle of a taper you want at both the beginning and the end of the stitch. And then we can actually go in and tell the machine exactly how long of a taper we want at both ends. So you have two different ways to do that. One is we can do it by what we call repeats.
Number of repeats.
Right, so we can say we want it to repeat this number of times, and it'll actually give us an approximation of the measurement for the length of that set of repeats, right? Yeah. Now, we'll tell you a little hint on that. Go to millimeters. Yeah, go to millimeters because that's going to be precise. If we're over in imperial or inches, it's going to be a little bit more of an approximation, but metric, it's going to be precise. The other way that we can do this is on the machine, we actually have the reverse stitch key. And what we're going to see is whether we're using the repeats or we're using the reverse stitch key, it's going to automatically make the beginning, but the end is where we have to tell it to do. So if we touch the reverse stitch key, it automatically goes into that end taper, which is awesome.
It begins that end tapering for you. So I love that. And like Mike said, there's a lot of creativity. You did a really fun project where we stitched out leaves. And because you can also, when you're setting your angle at the beginning, you could either have it left justified or right justified. So you can come to really fine points and things like that using your tapering. So it just gives you precision. And I love the fact that if you're doing the repeat, you know that your stitches are all going to kind of be the same length, right? So you're going to get consistency in your stitching.
And if you're somebody who likes to do what I would call manual applique, right? Meaning that you want to stitch your own satin stitches around the outside of your applique instead of doing it via embroidery, this is a great way to do it because you can actually control the width around the applique so that if you're coming into tight corners, you could taper it off, make it look more like hand stitched satin stitches as opposed to machine stitched. But a lot of fun.
Yep, and I love it too because if you turn on your guideline marker, which is built into the Altair, and you have that guideline marker on too, that's going to be a great aid for sewing and keeping those tapering stitches nice and straight.
Right, exactly. So. And you know, while we're talking about this, let's go ahead and talk about the new foot. Right, because we have a new foot called the N+ foot. We're going to be calling that our monogram foot. Now, we already had an N foot with the Altair, and the N foot is a monogramming foot. The difference between that and our typical J foot, which is our default foot, is that if we were to look at the bottom of the N foot, it has a channel cut into it.
Because you're doing decorative stitches with it. It's the foot that's recommended with our decorative stitches.
And so it's not going to compress your stitches. It's going to glide over your stitches a lot more freely. It's going to give you a lot more availability to use those built up stitches without it getting caught on the stitches. So the N+ foot, same thing. If we look at the bottom of it, there's a channel on it. But what you're going to notice is that the N+ foot actually has two little white supports on the side of it. And what this does is it does two things. It's going to make sure that the contact of the foot and the fabric are consistent and that they're going to be steady. And then the other thing is because these are going up, those two little supports are going up on the ankle of the machine, it actually gives it more support so that it's not wiggling back and forth.
Because that's one of the things we hear quite a bit is, how do I keep my stitches nice and straight? How do I know that they're going to align? That's where I said that guideline marker and that N+ foot are your great combination to help you keep those things straight and lined up.
Absolutely. But, you know, while we're talking about that too, let's throw in the fact too, we also have our motif stitches over on the embroidery side. So even on the Meridian, I have motif stitches just on the embroidery side.
And we're both big embroiderers, so if I really want something precise and straight, I'm going to use that repeat function. I might even use that matrix function now to be able to get those all nice and lined up and embroider them out.
Exactly. But this N+ foot, that is going to be coming with the Altair 2. It'll be actually in your accessory box. And it's going to be a nice little add-in there. But here's the one thing I do want to point out is on our screen when we're looking at our sewing side of our Altair 2, it recommends what foot we should
Right.
use. It will still say in foot. It will not say in plus foot. So just know that the in foot and the in plus foot are interchangeable. So if you do have both of them, you can use whichever one at your discretion.
Right. And if you're an Altair or Meridian existing customer, you can go purchase that from your local Baby Lock retailer
Correct.
too as an additional foot for your foot collection, right? Because we all like to have all the tools and things like that.
Absolutely.
So one of the other really cool things on the Altair 2 that is also part of the upgrade is going to be the hand-stitched stitches.
Yeah,
So
I love these.
this is actually going to create a new category on the machine. So that category is going to include a stitch that was already existing on the machine. That's the C1 stitch. That's a free motion stitch that's going to work with our optional free motion yarn couching foot that you can purchase with your machine. In addition to that, there's going to be 3 new hand stitched stitches, and they're going to also be in that category. So those stitches are so much fun. They give you that sashiko look to your stitching, and they come in 3 different lengths. And they basically, the trick to it is that you're going to use a lightweight thread in your bobbin. So it's going to be like a 60 weight thread in your bobbin, 50 weight, 60 weight thread.
Yep.
And then you're going to use monofilament thread at the top. And the way that stitch is set to stitch out, it's going to do 0.2 millimeter stitches, so teeny, teeny, tiny stitches. And those are going to combine together to create your stitch length. And it's going to, again, give you that little look of a hand stitch without actually having to use a sashiko stitch or do it by hand.
It's a really cool effect, and it's really an optical illusion if you just want to be honest about it, because it's combining that solid thread with see-through thread.
Right.
And so really, is it a sashiko stitch? No. But does it give you that essence?
Yes,
It really
yes.
does, which is really a lot of fun. And they're actually really easy to do.
Yeah.
They're really simple, and you can create some really unique looks of hand stitching
Yeah.
mixed in with embroidery.
And that sashiko stitching looks really cool on quilting, but
Yeah.
it also looks cool like if you have purchased garments and things like that, and you just want to add a little bit of that look to a collar or to, down the front of a shirt, or add them somewhere else on cuffs, etc. It gives it a really custom look.
It does, and it looks like you've put a lot of handwork into it when you just did it on the machine. Now, we mentioned that you do have some new hardware that would be available with the N Plus foot, but we also have 2 other pieces of new hardware that are going to be coming with the Altair 2 as well. One of them is going to be the compact digital dual feed foot.
Right.
Now, I love our digital dual feed. This is one of those things that I use a lot. I've always used the compact digital dual feed because it's like the walking foot moved up a couple of notches, right?
It's deluxe walking foot.
Yeah, so we've had the walking foot, the deluxe walking foot. Those are both available. But when we're using a walking foot, we actually do lose contact with the upper fabric as it advances.
Right.
With our compact digital dual feed or our regular digital dual feed, we never leave it, right?
No,
We never
belt-driven system.
Belt-driven, right? So we absolutely love this. But one of the things that we found were that some of the people were finding that because of the regular digital dual feed foot, the back area was a little bit large, and every now and then they would get their fabric caught underneath.
It went on a little bit of a diet.
It did. It went on big diet, actually. It went on a huge diet.
Right.
So now it's actually smaller, and it's actually angled in the back.
Right.
So
Right.
it does the exact same thing. There's nothing different about the functionality of that foot. It just is a little bit smaller of a footprint.
Right, and all the soles. So if you're somebody who has the existing digital dual feed foot and you have soles that you've purchased for those still work the same. So
Yes.
it also works the same. And so that again is something that's just going to be coming with the Altair 2, and it'll be packaged with the machine. In addition to that, though, one of the things that will work with the upgrade or with the Altair 2 is that there's 34 additional stitches now
Correct.
that are going to be able to be used using the digital dual feed foot, whether it's the traditional one or the compact.
That's right. And really and truly, we get questions about this a lot. Why are certain stitches grayed out when we're using the digital dual feed? The reason for that is that once we put the digital dual feed on our machine, it becomes a straight stitch machine, right? It's only going to be able to move forward and backwards, whereas our machine without that is actually a bilateral. It kind of goes all kind of different directions. So when we do that digital dual feed, whether it's the compact or the original, it does do straight stitches. And so we actually had to go in and do a little bit of changing to make those new 34 work, and they work great. So now you have more options that are available.
And just make sure that when you're putting that compact digital dual feed foot on, or your regular digital dual feed in, that you make sure you plug it in the back, because that's what's going to be the magic to tell the machine that you have that
right.
foot and you're using that, and that's what's going to help to determine the stitches that are available with that foot.
Right, and if the stitch isn't available, it'll be grayed out.
Yeah.
So it's a safety feature that's built into it.
Yeah.
Now, we also have a new foot control for the Altair 2 as well. So what we're going to call this is the new ergonomic multiple function foot control.
Right.
And this is actually going to be very similar to our prior multifunction foot control, meaning that it has the main foot pedal, which still has, if we tap on the front, it's the go. It makes it go,
your
right?
gas.
We have what we call a kick feature on the large foot, which means that we can actually program something to happen whenever we push back on the foot. And then we have what's called the sidecar.
Right.
And the sidecar is a smaller foot. It can be attached directly to the larger foot pedal, or it can be kept separate. Either way, they actually have to be plugged into one another, but they don't have to actually be physically connected. But if you want them connected, you have the connection kit that's in there with it. The cool thing that's about this is we're finding more and more people are starting to stitch standing up, which is kind of fun. I do it a little bit. I don't do it all the time. But one of the problems we were running into with our original multifunction foot control is that it wasn't long enough, right? So the cable cord that's on our new multifunction foot control is actually quite a bit longer. So you're gonna see if you have a standing desk or if you have one of the tables that adjusts, you can actually still use your foot control even at a standing position.
Yeah, and I love the multifunction foot control in combination with our auto presser foot down feature that's also in the settings. So when we talked about our embroidery foot being now able to have it set up so that it can just automatically start embroidering and go right to green, same thing with the sewing side. So this really is going to help in combination, those two things together with having those different functions on the multifunction foot control to be able to just use some hands-free sewing.
I love hands-free sewing.
It's magic. It's almost like you don't even have to touch your fabric. You can just press the gas, the foot lowers, and you can start sewing. Then if you have something set up for like having your auto trim on, you can just simply touch the pedal, auto trim, and ta-da, your foot raises and you're good to go.
Absolutely. And then combine that with your pivot feature.
Oh my gosh.
Really, you don't have to touch your fabric, which is great.
We're lazy embroiderers and lazy sewers.
That's but I think also too, it does train us, you know, when we think back to more simplistic machines, machines that actually didn't have as many features, we were really trained that we had to drive our fabric, right? And nowadays with computerized machines, things like that, we find that people want to still drive. And you really can't, because you got to trust your feed dogs. It's going to pull it in straight. It's going to keep it straight. And that's why a lot of people have problems with doing those extra wide stitches on the utility side and things like that, because we're wanting to steer. We're wanting to manage, right? So trust your machine. It's going to do great for you. So the multifunction foot control, the ergonomic one, the new one, that's going to actually come with the Altair 2. It is actually not included as part of the upgrade because you already have foot control that's on there. And plus, we're going to talk about the upgrade here in just a second, but what you're going to find is the upgrade is actually the same upgrade whether it's the Altair or the Meridian. So there's going to be some differences in that. We'll go through that here in just a second. But you know, when we take a look at what we're getting for embroidery, what we're getting for IQ, and what we're getting for sewing, this is so much, right?
It is. And this is such a reasonably priced machine in our line. So you're getting a ton of features, plus you're getting that large 9.5 by 14 embroidery field, plus all the other designs and all the other IQ possibilities you had existing on the Altair and the Meridian.
Yeah, and these are wonderful machines. And I'm sure if you know somebody who's got an Altair 1 or a Meridian 1, ask them, they will tell you. These are wonderful machines. They stitch beautifully, they sew beautifully. The one thing I will throw out there is for our consumers who actually own the Altair, whether you're getting you have the Altair 1 and you're thinking about getting the upgrade, or you're going to get the Altair 2, make sure you do use both sides of the machine, right? Make sure you use the sewing side and the embroidery side. It uses different parts inside the machine, and these are closed systems, meaning you don't have to lubricate them, you don't have to oil them, you don't have to do any of that. So make sure you're using both sides to keep them both in great working order. So let's take a minute and talk really quick about our customers who have the Altair 1 and the Meridian 1, and they want to upgrade to get all of these great features.
Right, and like Mike said, the upgrade for these machines is going to be the same whether you're a Meridian or an Altair customer. So you're going to find that the hardware and the things that come with it are going to be geared more towards the embroidery side, since both of them can use the embroidery side. So included in that upgrade, you're going to see that you're going to get that yarn couching foot, that Y foot, and then you're also going to get the yarn couching guide, and it's going to have a little EC on it for embroidery couching. And in addition to that, you're going to get that awesome 12x7 magnetic hoop. Super excited about that being included in the upgrade. Right,
so if you're upgrading, you get the hoop. If you're buying the original Altair 2 Meridian 2, of course that hoop is available as an additional accessory, but you get, if you're buying the machine, you get the multifunction foot control and the compact digital dual feed, and if you're on the Altair, the M Plus foot, whereas that's not included in the upgrade. Other than that, the upgrade will include all of the wonderful features that we've been talking about. So everything we mentioned inside of embroidery, everything we mentioned inside of IQ Designer.
All those wireless features, the IQ monitoring app, the being able to update your machine through the wireless capabilities.
Wonderful, wonderful. And all of our sewing features as well. So for those of you that own that Altair 1, that Meridian 1, don't worry. go talk to your Baby Lock retailer. They can get you hooked up with the upgrade kit itself.
Yeah.
Unless you're just one that wants to have the little Altair 2 or Meridian 2 on the front of the hood, then you can just talk about maybe trading it in and get you a brand new machine.
Absolutely.
But these are phenomenal machines, and the upgrade features are, I think, just going to make it so much more fun to play with.
I think it's such a robust upgrade.
It is.
Super excited about it for you guys. So to see more about the Altair 2, Meridian 2, or the upgrade, be sure to go and talk to your local Baby Lock retailer. I know they'd be more than happy to demonstrate the product to you.
Yeah, schedule a time with them, right? Call them and ask them if you can come in and have a test drive, right? Because test drives are a lot of fun to have in there. And plus, you know, we went through all of these features, but we're doing it really quick and we're doing it at a pretty high level. When you sit down and play with it, you're gonna see that there's even more to it, right?
Yeah, and your retailer's also gonna be able to tell you about some of our startup kits that we have available and also some of our fun promotions that are also available with these machine purchases.
Absolutely. So make sure you support your local Baby Lock retailer. Call them, visit them, tell them Patty and Mike sent you. And we hope that you give yourself some time to check out these new features, check out what's available on these. And if you do wind up going home with either the upgrade or the new machine, we hope that you have a blast with it and you create all kinds of wonderful projects. So thank you so much for joining us for this. And we look forward to seeing you for our future videos, or maybe even at one of our getaways or something here at Tacony's headquarters. So thank you again, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.